I'm here with Suzanne Caldeira from Guaranteed Rate today. Suzanne's an awesome loan officer that I work with all the time. I love her. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today and to tell me about what you do and give everyone the opportunity to learn more about you. So the first question that I have is pretty general, pretty basic. Why did you become a loan officer?
To get a few hours, I'm teasing.
Well,
At the time, Jodie, it was purely just for quality of life. I was working in retail, working about 80 or 90 hours a week, just burnt out. And I just wanted to be in a different career where I had control of my time and wasn't told what to do. And then lo and behold, it's 20 years later and I still love it. So it started
great.
as wanting to have a better life. And it's been a joy. It really has.
Awesome. What do you think is the most memorable experience you've had so far as a loan officer?
Oh my God, there's so many. I can't even give you one. I still get like that joy when you talk to someone and you get to understand like why they're doing something. You know, forget the surfacey stuff of how much do you make, what do you have in the bank, what's your credit. It's when you hear something like somebody is from another country and they came here and it was a dream to own their home, or maybe they're the first one in their family that's buying a home. Like that just it fills me with joy. Like that's what drives me is that, and way more than, I don't know, closing a lot of loans. It's about that.
I agree. I love connecting with people. I know we've shared clients that were first-time home buyers and first time for their family in the United States and all of that. And those are the best ones.
Yeah, for sure.
It. Awesome. All right. So what are some of the oddest requests you've ever received, or oddest scenarios you've ever encountered? Maybe that's another way to look at it as a loan officer.
You know, I think odd scenarios would be called odd now, but back in the subprime days, they weren't odd. Yeah. Where, I had a filter, and my filter back then was, all right, if I won't do it for me or my mom, I'm not doing the loan. And that was my filter.
That's a good filter.
Yeah, to some regard. But if you were to talk to a banking regulator now, no, because if you have two people that are going to be on a loan, you've got to use both of their income. You can't go and give the wife a raise because the husband has terrible credit. So, in some regards, you can argue that makes sense. But when you see what happened in the past and how a lot of those loans didn't ultimately end up performing, it makes you think back to the decisioning process. Just sometimes the animals that people have, like I'm a crazy lover. And when I just hear, the pets that people have, like I could talk to them about pets for hours. But that in and of itself is definitely something that's funny when you find out that somebody's a reptile lover or has like a 30 or a 40-year-old bird that I can't get my head around, because I'm like, the bird's almost my age and we can hang out. We're contemporaries. When people sometimes ask when they're buying a house, like, hey, can I put in my car loan? Can I put in my student loan? Like you can't roll that when you're purchasing a home.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned animals, and I was going to ask about what you do on the side. And I think that's a good segue. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and three other girls started a local nonprofit in Rhode Island. It's called Funds for Paws. Two of them are actually realtors, and they had come to an event that I had, and I saw them, and I just had something in the back of my head. Just ask them to stay and share your idea. They both have huge animal networks, and I said, hey, I have this idea. And one of the members of the group had the CPA and the financial planner connection, or attorney connection. I'm sorry, CPA and attorney connection. Because they were such animal lovers, they were able to push through and do our paperwork for us to become a nonprofit.
Oh, great.
And the fourth member of the group had fallen off, but then we ended up finding another member of the group who's actually a good friend and actually client of one of the agents. So our mission is to raise funds and awareness for local animals in need. We have no overhead, so it's not like we're housing a building or take in animals, but it would be something as simple as you reaching out saying, hey, Fender's going to have a surgery. We're really nervous about it. I don't think we can afford it. As long as the four of us agree, we will donate. So I love those stories when someone will text us or when they'll share a story of how we were able to help save their animals. It's been a challenge for us this year or 2020 with the pandemic. So we used to have our major event was our pet walk, and that's where we'd shake down a lot of people for sponsorships and to come to walk, and so we lost a lot of that. So keep an eye out. We'll be doing some online things coming up soon.
You know, I've seen instances where organizations are doing them virtually. Maybe something to consider. Yeah. All right. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for that. And I love that.
Welcome.
I love that you're involved in that. As you know, my dog is a rescue as well. So, and I always rescue. So that is near and dear to my heart. So getting back to your work as a loan officer now, is there anything about you or about Guaranteed Rate that you think, stands above the crowd that folks might want to hear about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this market, Jodie, it's speed and efficiency. On certain transactions, we can execute really quickly. So that helps, especially, when you're acting as a listing agent and you could say, hey, this will close in under 30 days. That'll get somebody's attention and sometimes get their offer accepted. Our technology, it's by far, I didn't realize how good it was until the pandemic hit. We didn't miss a beat with the pandemic. So we were able to continue doing our jobs, and it's just sometimes I feel like I work for Google that just happens to do mortgages with the amount of tech that we have. So, and interestingly, from doing mortgages for someone that's 80 all the way down to their early 20s, it's very easy type of technology for clients, because I know sometimes people get nervous about, I don't want to do that. I'm telling you, it's if someone who's 80 can figure it out, you can figure it out too. It's pretty intuitive and pretty easy to use.
I will say the clients of mine that have used your portal really love the ease that it provides. So everybody's stuck in their houses these days. What's the most random thing you've watched or Netflix while you've been home with our quarantining and all of this stuff going on?
Tiger King. I got on the Tiger King kick. It was the best diversion from, I don't know what the hell is happening in the world. The amount of times we said wow and WTF to this stuff. That's probably the most random. We definitely got on that bandwagon. But we've watched a lot of shows, so I can list a lot of shows. And if you have any shows to share, I would love to know about your shows. Okay.
I'm watching one right now. It's a movie. It's called The Dig.
The Dig. What's that about?
The Dig. It's about a family that purchases a property. I believe it's in Europe, and it is in Europe. It has mounds on it, and the mounds are believed to be Viking burial sites. And so it's about, and it's also during a war. So it's about the trials and tribulations that they go through with this dig, and of course, how it brings people together and things like that. So I'm about halfway through it. I started watching it with my son the other night. We have to finish that later. I was getting into it. But yeah, I really like that so far. I watch a lot of things that can cross over between my kids and myself. So we watched another show the other day. It's only one season. It's 6 episodes. It was Letter to the King. That was on Netflix as well. And that was good. I got into it for a show that's really supposed to grab the focus of teenagers. What do you do for fun besides watch Netflix these days? Anything different?
Definitely different with the pandemic. And you and I share this. I remember the first time I ever met you. And actually, do you know my wife? So Monica wears pants, and she's known on the ice as Pants. Do you remember anyone who wore pants? Like she wears those, they're like rollerblader pants.
I don't remember.
I told her about you.
Yeah. So
she's got to know me as Pants. Everyone knows me as Pants.
So Suzanne and I are both hockey players. I played up through high school and then got back into it a couple years ago, but I have a bad ankle. So I played for a season and then decided it's really not in my best interests as much as I love hockey. I don't remember from that season if I saw it. I might have, but yeah, that's pretty funny.
You played for our nemesis team, the Rhode Island Raptors, right? Yeah.
Getting back to lending. What do you think is your biggest challenge these days? I know we have lots of tools that are helping to make things easier for us, even in these challenging times. But if you were to tell people, these are my biggest challenges, so please avoid them, put that message out now. What would you want to tell them?
Do you mean from a client perspective?
Yeah, from a lending perspective and in working with clients, what's your biggest challenge or maybe your biggest pet peeve?
Sometimes credit. When you see that somebody decides not to pay something because of principal, and principal can really bite you in the butt. So regardless of whether you're right or wrong, it kind of doesn't matter. You still made that obligation to make the payment. So that for me is really tough. Having come from when I was younger, having a lot of credit issues when I was in my 20s, because all I wanted to do was party. And back in the 90s, whoever called me the most would be the one that I paid. So that was probably not that smart, but I'll always fight for that underdog. But when I can hear that underlying of it's a principal thing, it's hard because I've had to pay things that were principal. And so that for us as lenders is a big challenge because unfortunately nobody cares. The underwriter doesn't care that your rate was supposed to be X, but then it was X. If you sign the contract and that's what it says that you were supposed to pay, that's what it says you were supposed to pay. Because the underwriter's job is to mitigate risk. Their job is not to have feeling or emotion. So, and it's hard because when you get to know the person, you get to know the story, that for me becomes a real challenge.
Yeah.
The other challenge is something you see all the time, Jodie, inventory. It used to be I'd go into a weekend and, maybe if there were 8 or 15 offers, 6 out of 8 would get accepted, 13 out of 15 would get accepted. Now, maybe 1 or 0 out of those will get accepted. So, and it has nothing to do with me. I have the confidence that, hey, I'm going to still keep doing business no matter what. It can just be emotionally draining for the client and for the realtors. So
true. And I think as a takeaway for people watching this, protect your credit. Make your payments on time if you can control that. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to meet with me and interview with me today. I love you. So I'm really, really happy to have you be my first interview and to get this out on social media and start sharing it.